All right, folks. All right, take 2, I guess. Sorry about the technical difficulties, folks. Just like a regular show, I guess, huh? Yeah, thanks. Anyway, folks, I was talking about, before I was so rudely interrupted by whatever, I guess the ghosts, I suppose. Anyway, I was evaluating and telling you guys people who in Hollywood or entertainment who I would cast if I was casting for films and why, and what I look for in talent when I'm doing casting. Since I've already covered most of everything else on the other part of this, and I'll do this part now. Let's do this over, I suppose. Well, actually, we'll take it back from completing Wesley Holloway. He is someone who I would cast because I think he's got a lot of potential. I think he can do a lot more than what he's done already, and I've seen it in other works that he's done, and I've recommended him a long time ago to people who were looking for people to be casted. So, something to keep an eye out for, folks. I think Wesley Holloway is going to do big things. Another person who I think has an it factor is Jacob Tremblay. Jacob Tremblay is another young man actor. Of course, he's up there in Ontario. He's up there in Canada. He's Canadian, is Jacob Tremblay. And a long time ago, Jacob Tremblay came all the way down to audition for The Good Old Boy. Way years ago. But he was too young at that point to play the role, so that didn't happen. That was, of course, my first film I wrote. But Jacob Tremblay is a very talented young man, and what I think is interesting for him is he can do multiple genres as well. I'll tell you this, one of the hardest things that I've ever had to watch, one of the freakiest things I've ever watched by Jacob Tremblay was in Doctor Sleep. If you guys have not seen it, I want to warn you, it might be the performance of a lifetime by Jacob Tremblay, but if you're someone who likes horror, that's the movie you want to see. It's a performance that gets the point across, and after that scene, you just want revenge, if you would, against the villains, if you would. But tremendous performance, and I think what's from people who are there filming, the filmmaker, the director on the movie said that when they were watching that, the only people who knew that he was going to bring that kind of intensity to that was he and his dad. And everyone who was watching, the monitors, the crew who was watching if you've never been part of a film crew, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But there are multiple people on a set when you're making a film. You got the sound people, the mixing people, the lighting people, the editing people, the director, the assistant director, the script writer, agents, you name it, they're there. And then other people just there. And from what everyone has said, that when they were there, they couldn't even handle it. They were in tears watching that scene. The director said it was the most endearing thing he's ever had to be through. He had to shoot. And when the scene was over and he yelled, "Cut!" Jacob just got up with his dad, high-fived each other, watching everyone bawling their eyes out like nothing just happened. That's hysterical to me, and I think that is a sign of someone who can manipulate a audience, if you would, and really can bring that A game. That to do that is something, to say the least. Again, he's also a very busy person. That goes to show. Sometimes when someone who is doing multiple things, that's because other people see the talent in them. At least that's what I hope to see. I think when people get multiple things going on, I think the reason for that is because a lot of people see the value in that person. That's why they work so much. What I do want to give little bit of advice to people, though, not that you're ever going to listen to me, because again, I didn't act. I did the other part of it. I casted people. But what I will say is just pace yourself and do the projects you feel comfortable in doing. I would suggest not necessarily taking jobs just to take a job. And the reason I say that is because you're probably going to get casted in whatever the project is. But the thing you want to avoid is being put in the category of like someone who wants to be in everything. Because what happens is you're going to do 7, 8 films in a row. You're the face of that generation. All of a sudden, something stops. And that could be crushing to someone. Some examples of this. Brendan Fraser, who just came back to Hollywood, right? Big success story. Brendan Fraser was in almost in everything in the 90s. Encino Man. One after another. Boom, boom, boom. Charlie Cosmo was another person. He was in everything. Boom, boom, boom. Dick Tracy, this. Hold on. Dick Tracy and what about Bob Hook, right? And then he did one other film and he was done. Okay. Then there's other people. Corey Feldman, Corey Haim, Macaulay Culkin, Elijah Wood. These are people who are almost in everything. And then, of course, Culkin, it was his dad's thing. His dad wanted him to work there. And half of those, I'm sure Culkin didn't want to do any of those. Again, it was just something his dad wanted. Listen to Macaulay Culkin tell the stories. That you'll learn a lot about the industry. And there's different types. There's the ones who want it and the ones who don't. And I got to tell you, when I'm casting, I look for those things. I can read these things. I can see it on their faces. I look at the body language. And if I can tell a person's not into something or not into the role or not into the production or not into something, I'm not going to waste their time or mine. Because I don't want to put up a drama on my set. Because that's what that is. It's poor drama. I'm not going to have a person be miserable because they have to do my project. It honestly, it puts a damper on things when you do that. So whenever you're going to audition for something, do something that you feel you want to do for your reasons. Not because you feel you need to do it to be relevant. Because you're already relevant. You're already making a film. All you're really... The Shining Twins, all right? Lisa Louise Burns, the Shining Twins have done one movie in their entire life. The Shining, one of the most iconic films of the 80s, right? That one film, they are known for only that thing. And they are still icons because of that one role, that one performance. Okay? Danny Lloyd, who played Danny Torrance in the same movie. The one role he did, the one movie he did, he's set. Granted, he does a lot of shows. Now, the Shining Twins and Danny Lloyd go to a lot of these meet and greets and cons and stuff, which I do suggest people do. In all honesty, just a bit of advice to anyone, until things get, until you get back to work in the SAG or whatever else, now might be the time, if you've ever considered doing conventions, meet and greets or whatever, now might be the time you might want to start thinking about those things, because you could bring in some revenue. You can kind of offset things, do something, I guess. You can't do films, and there are certain guidelines, but you could definitely meet your fans if that's something you enjoy doing, and you can bring in some income. I've seen it. And Lisa Louise Burns, who did the one movie back in 1980, they had a line all weekend at the last show that I worked at. All weekend, a line out the door, out the building. And that could be something you could be into. I want you to put that into $sign figures. Just something to do, something to think about. Word of mouth, so to speak. Food for thought. The next 3 people... See, I would cast these people because I haven't seen it done yet, and I don't know why it hasn't been done yet. But I would do it just because I want to find out what would happen if you were to take Christopher, Christian, and Sean Convery and cast them all in the same role in the film. Now, let me tell you the differences between the 3. The Converys, of course, on our show, the Convery Chess Club, blah, blah, blah. Christopher Convery actually has a strong musical background and actually can perform music. He can sing. Christian Convery is a very energetic and adventurous. Sean Convery is kind of a mix of both of them put together, and also has a natural comedic timing for himself. Could do some magic too. Sean Convery is very underrated, in my opinion, out of the three. He's, of course, the younger brother of Christopher Convery and the cousin of Christian Convery. Christian, of course, from Canada, and Christopher and Sean from San Diego, from Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. But you know what's? They enjoy being around each other, and they're all talented in their own right. Imagine having the three of them in one role. Why hasn't this happened yet? Hollywood, wake up. Well, actually, no one can work right now, but just something to think about, casting directors. They all have a tremendous difference of things. Christian also has an amazing sense of humor. And he's worked with Tyler Mane, and he's held his own with John Cena and people of that nature. Christopher Convery, he's got the dramatic thing down, Pat, and the horror thing down. Sean Convery, I think, needs some more acting stuff. I think he needs some more acting roles to show off that he can do just as much as everybody else. And I would cast all three of them in the same project because that's money right there. And the other person I would cast, and the other person I would have on set, and there's multiple reasons. I've actually told him this to his face, as I've worked with him, and of course is the prodigy himself, Jackson R. Scott. Well, we call him Jackson R. Scott. The world knows him as Jackson Robert Scott, star of It and Lock and Key and multiple other things. I just got to see Gossamer's Folds recently. What a movie that is. Go see that and they tell me that Jackson R. Scott's not talent. But I'm going to tell you this. I think Jackson R. Scott should be the leading in a comedy versus the horror stuff. He's done a lot of horror, and I know that he likes it. I know he doesn't mind the sci-fi, the horror, the drama. All honesty, Jackson is a natural comedian. He is a natural comedic talent. He is a naturally a funny person, and he is a load of energy. I would have Jackson R. Scott on set just to keep everyone else on set awake. That's honestly why I would cast Jackson R. Scott. His energy levels, I feel the crew and the cast would feed off of. That's why you get Jackson R. Scott. His intense energy level is what you want on your set, in my opinion. Especially if you have a set like mine. I like my sets to be like laid back and relaxed, like a home-like atmosphere. And in that kind of environment, Jackson R. Scott would be, fit right into that, and everyone would have a good time and relaxed on set. No one would be stressed out. Stress is never going to be healthy for any set. Facts on that. And the next two people, I could talk about all day on a lot of these people. Another person I think I would cast is Andy Walken. Who's Andy Walken? I'll tell you who Andy Walken is. Andy Walken is an up-and-coming person. He's done some film, he's done some television, he's done some Broadway. He is the total package, as we call him, in Hollywood, in entertainment, in Broadway, and whatnot. As far as roles you would know him from, he did a TV show for a little while with Jack Gore, who I don't know why, that poor kid, Jack Gore, he's someone who I think is very funny naturally, and is just, I don't know why, whatever TV show Jack Gore gets, it never seems to work out. Because that was a great show. Anyway, Andy Walken and Jack Gore were on a TV show called The Kids Are All Right. It's kind of like Wonder Years, but set in like the 70s, I want to say. I enjoyed it. I guess nobody else did. It's been canceled, but I think that Andy Walken is criminally underrated. He can do a lot. He can sing, dance, act. Andy Walken also did the live version of Christmas Story, which I'm sure is not easy to do. Then he went ahead and did that We Can Be Heroes as playing a kid in a wheelchair. I honestly think he's very, very talented at what he can do. In all honesty, when you're casting, again, what I just said about what he can bring to the table, kind of like Wesley Holloway. Wesley Holloway has the stage presence. He's got the acting presence. He's the comedic talent, and so forth. Right. All honesty, when I cast something, I want to have people who I think can be okay with. If something goes wrong, they can go with it. I think if you were to get Wesley Holloway, Andy Walker, any of these people, they would be able to just nail it without even trying it, because of their live performance part of it, right? Because here's why I say this: when you're used to film or television, there are cuts, there are breaks, there are I know how it works. I've been there, I've done it, right? Behind the camera. But when you are a live performer, as I can also relate, because I've done the pro wrestling thing, I've also done stage work when I was younger, so I know how that works, the live thing. And I've also done a lot of public speaking and so forth. And when you are live, and you're doing a performance live, there are no retakes. It can be nerve-wracking, but if you're good at it, and you're someone who can master that, you're gold on a set. Because let's say anything was to go wrong, you flub a line or something doesn't go well, the person who has the stage background, the person who has the stage kind of the Broadway, if you would, mentality, they'll be able to ad-lib and work off of that, because that's what a live performer will do. They will make it so you don't even know they made a mistake. See, in pro wrestling, the only people who know what's going to go on in the show are the guys in the ring. No one else does. It's a show. It's a thing. But when it comes to a performance on a film, on a television set, if you're just one of those people used to that kind of work, you're used to cut, retake, whatever. But when you're doing stage work, you're doing live performances, you have to be able to go on the cuff if you need to. That's why people like Wesley Holloway and Andy Walken are so valuable in that aspect, because they can do those things. Again, when I just mentioned these people, they bring different elements, right? They bring a different aspect. Looking at the Converys again, if you want someone who's going to bring the horror aspect to things, I think Christopher Convery is going to be the person, the dramatic part of it. You could take Christopher or Christian, but if you want someone who's going to be athletic and someone who's going to do some type of daring type of thing, that's where you would get Christian to do that. Sean Convery would just kind of just throw in there anywhere. He was calm. He can do. I don't think he's had as much as experience as his brother and cousin have. I think if he was given the same, I think he would be just as big. I do believe he does act. He has something going on, I think, Sean Convery. But the three of them together would be gold, like I said. But they all have their different elements. Just taking those three alone, they have their own talents, their own set and skill set. What if you were to do like a family band? Well, you could have Christopher sing and Christian do the acting, and Sean Convery can do the magic, right? With people like Wesley Holloway and Andy Walken, they can do the acting thing on front of a camera or on stage or on television. But because of that stage presence and that background on Broadway or whatnot, they're also able to adapt live. Because anyone who's ever made a mistake live on stage, admittedly, I've been there, I've done that. You have to keep going with the show. You can't stop the show and do the whole scene all over again. That's not how it works in stage plays. And I've been in plenty of them, let me tell you. A lot of fun. But I think that's a valuable asset. I think that's a great tool to have. So when I'm looking at someone, they're bringing me because nowadays what they do is, even back then, they bring what's called a headshot. On the back of their headshot is usually they're attached to their resume, the things that they've done, the things they're trained with. I'm not really interested in as much as the training, as much as what they've done. What have you done is what I want to know, and what skills do you have? And also the person themselves, because that's ultimately what I look at, is the person. Because ultimately, when you take a character, you become that character. And now, you have to turn that character into you. Because years from now, we've all done it, right? You'll see someone in a film not really know what their names are, but you'll associate that person with that role. because that's who that person is to you. If you see Bill Murray as Peter Venkman in Ghostbusters, whenever you see Bill Murray in anything after that for a little while until you learn who Bill Murray is, you're like, oh, it's Peter Venkman in What About Bob? It's Peter Venkman in Royal Tenenbaums. It's Peter Venkman in pretty much any other Bill Murray movie. Stripes, take your pick. But like that's how people adapt to certain things sometimes. They'll see a person in something, not know who they are right off the bat, because names are confusing and names are all over the place, but you associate that character with the faces associated with it. So, for example, Wesley Holloway, who was in Terrifier 2, you'll know that kid from now on. He might be the serial kid from Terrifier 2. Because that's who's associated with. Andy Walken has done a couple of things. He's from whatever. Jacob Tremblay, you could say he's in multiple things. But when you take Tony Collette, any of the names of the people I just mentioned, whenever you see them for the first time, whatever that role is, until you learn who they are, that's who they are. When you see Dana Carvey as Garth Algar, he's Garth. When you see him as the church lady, he's the church lady. When you see Steve Buscemi as the guy from Armageddon, he's the guy from Armageddon. If you see him from the, what's the Tree movie? He did a great independent film. He directed it too. Criminally underrated as Steve Buscemi again. Really talented guy. Anyway. But when you see Dane Cook, I mean, granted, you might say, well, he's a comedian. He's Dane Cook. We know who he is. He's a comedian. But whatever the role is you see him for the first time, if you ever see him in stand-up, you get associated with maybe the cook from Waiting or Good Luck Chuck, Michael Fishman, he's DJ Connor, okay? Until you realize he's, Michael Fishman. Toni Collette, the mother from Sixth Sense, she's Tara from the United States of Tara. And what I mean, the whole point of this is, whenever you go take a performance, whenever you take a role, that role is who you are. You have to own that role because of who you are. And because of the fact that years from now, people are going to see that role and know that is who you are. You become that character. So when I'm casting someone, I want to make sure they fit that person. And like I said, even if I see someone come up to whoever comes to my auditions and they audition, if they have something special, something different that nobody else has, I'm going to make something for them. Now, if Wesley Holloway and Andy Walken were to audition for something I had, because I know they have a stage background, I would hire them on the spot and I would invent a scene for the two of them. Maybe I don't know what scene would be, but the fact that I know that they could go with it, I would be confident in knowing that that is a great pick. That's what I would do, personally. It goes for all of these people. Any one of them, professionals. Any one of these people are Golden Globe, Oscar winner contenders. Every single one of them are capable of that, and I believe every one of them are fantastic. The last person I was going to say is Kaylee Fleming, who you might know as Judith from The Walking Dead. She's a young lady who looks like she could be a tough girl. She looks like she could be a little girl. She is a very talented young lady, and I think she's got a lot going on. A lot of that comes from growing up on that kind of a set, on that kind of environment, with all that kind of talent on set. Because Judith, the character, Katie Fleming on The Walking Dead, for example, she had to be tough at some times, she had to be loose at some times, she had to remember she was a kid at other times. She was all over the place. You had to be a top-notch actress to do that role. So, bravo, casting, whoever did that. Anyway, that's my take on acting and who I would cast and why I would cast them and why I think it's so vital to, when you're doing casting, it's great to know what class they took or whatever else. But when you're casting, remember that when you're casting, you got to cast the character to the person, and that is who the audience has to realize is who they are. And if you can't see it and they don't have that, then that's going to have to look something else. But I do suggest to other people who are casting, if you're someone who, like me, who also is in the writing aspect of things, or you're tight with the director, filmmaker, or whatnot, I would suggest making a role for someone like these people, because you're not going to hurt your production. You're only going to increase your level of talent and the memorable things. And also the person you're bringing in can have that experience as well. I know for me, one of my favorite things, well, there's two favorite moments. One is when it's all said and done. You're done filming, you're done editing, you have that screening process, right? Literally the screening, that red carpet event. If you've never been part of that, I got to tell you, I've been part of a few of them. It is a feeling that you can't explain. But I'm going to try. Whenever I've gone to a red carpet event of something I worked on, when I see how all of these tools, all of these players who came together, the lighting, the directing, the producing, the casting, the whatever, catering, the drivers, whatever, the actors, the actresses, the actors, whatever, the extras, when everything comes together and they're put together, the editing and the sound and the mixing, and you get that final project, and you go to a theater with you, and the press usually is there, and the cast, crew, blah, 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 family, friends, dignitaries, whatever. But to see what you all created together as a whole, as a group, as a family, if you would. Because again, I run my shows, my movies, my sets very family-like. It's got to be laid back, relaxed, stress-free, because otherwise you're going to burn yourself out. It's going to be a rough shoot, in all honesty, if you do it the other way. In my opinion, other people have adapted and adopted this. Other people have adopted this set life that I have created, and I honestly believe it's the best way to have a set. You can't. The days of screaming and yelling at your audience, at your actors and actresses, is over. You're not going to get the performance of a lifetime by screaming and scaring the tar out of someone like you would back in the early days of film. Now, you need to have that kind of laid-back, relaxed, reserved kind of an atmosphere. Otherwise, your project is going to fail. Why? Because no one feels confident around each other. Because if everyone feels comfortable around each other, family-like around everyone, everything flows better. That's why you have it that way. But to see all of those pieces come together on a screen collectively is an amazing feeling, completion. But also that you as a unit came together to put this project together. That to me is one of my favorite things. My second favorite thing is when people take the time to come up to something. People came when I made the Good Old Boy, my first project. People came from Canada, from as far all the way down. I don't know how far they came. They came from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Canada, New York, all over Massachusetts to be part of a project that I wrote, that I created, that I believed in. And these people came to want to be part of that. Actors and actresses, and it was an amazing feeling to know that so many people believed in the story that I wrote, believed in the vision that I had. They trusted it to make this project. Granted, I brought people in who I probably shouldn't have, and they, tried sabotaging the whole thing. But that's okay, because at least it's a learning experience that I can learn. But at the end of the day, what the team put together is an amazing accomplishment, and that's something that can't be broken. To see the work that everyone put together, even if it's a short film, full-length film, is an amazing feeling. I've been writing a stage play for the last few years. I keep fine-tuning it and whatever else. I'm probably It's probably going to be done probably eventually, the same time as my autobiography, sometime in 2026 at this point. Especially if I go back to wrestling next year. But in general, I'm often asked, well, why don't you go back into film? I mean, recently I almost went back into television, and I had a lot to do with the casting of a TV project. I took a lot of pride in that, and I believed in a lot of the talent that we helped up with. But in the end, I'm reminded that, it's just the filmmaking business is such a shady and nasty place. I don't know if I would go back into filming or whatever, unless I was doing it myself and, whatnot. If I had this talented people behind me, maybe if I had this team right here, for fun, what I'm going to do as a project for myself, and I'll share this with you guys. There is no script as of yet, but what I'm going to do is, for the fun of it, the cast I just mentioned: Toni Collette, Steve Buscemi, Dane Cook, Dana Carvey, Michael Fishman, Christina Ricci, Tyler Mane. We're going to subtract Robin Williams. That's not going to happen. We're going to somewhat be realistic here. Wesley Holloway, Jacob Tremblay, Christopher, Christian, and Sean Convery, Jackson Robert Scott, Andy Walken, and Kaylee Fleming. For fun, not for real, I'm going to put together a short script, if you would. A short script story with these people. And I would tell you how I would cast them, what character I would give them, and kind of that kind of a thing for a future show. So, that's fun. I just gave myself homework that I didn't need, but I gave it to me anyway because I like a good challenge. So again, I am going to put together, it's not a real thing, but I'm going to put together a performance, if you would, of some magnitude, maybe a stage play using Toni Collette, Steve Buscemi, Dane Cook, Dana Carvey, Michael Fishman, Christina Ricci, Tyler Mane, Wesley Holloway, Jacob Tremblay, Christopher, Christian, and Sean Convery, Jackson Robert Scott, Andy Walken, and Kaylee Fleming. Good luck to me. So I'm going to put together something casting that group, and I'll have an update for you guys on a future show. So in the meantime, folks, it is Saturday. It's not even 9 o'clock yet, so you got plenty of Saturday left to go and do your own thing. Go check out some of these people's performances. Go see Terrifier 2. You can see Wesley Holloway is in the Clown Cafe. Good luck getting that song out of your head. Go see Dr. Sleep if you're up for it. Or, if you want a good laugh, go see Good Boys. Okay, I got to be honest with you guys. I grew up kind of a wise guy like that movie, so I could adapt, and I think that's a realistic thing. I think that the time of trying to pretend the kids don't swear and don't talk like they do in Good Boys is kind of far-fetched. Anyone who has kids, anyone who was a kid, knows that the Good Boys isn't far from the truth, if we're being honest. Yeah, but go see these people. I mean, Christopher Convery was just in the movie Pinball, the Pinball Wizard there movie. He was also in Prisoner's Daughter, was fantastic. Go see Christopher Convery is in those. Christian Convery was in Sweet Tooth. It's on Netflix. Or he was in Cocaine Bear recently, Pants on Fire. You can see him and Tyler Mane in that. Good luck. That's fun. I think they worked together a few scenes in that. Robin Williams, take your pick of a Robin Williams movie. I would suggest checking out There Could Be Heroes for Andy Walken. I think the show, Kids Are All Right, is still available on Hulu. Go check that out. Kaylee Fleming, Walking Dead, good luck, have fun. Toni Collette, anything she's in. Sixth Sense. The United States of Tara, again, would put on a clinic in acting. Steve Buscemi. I want to say it's a Peachtree Inn, I believe is the name of the movie. It makes me sad that I can't remember. I love the film, too. Steve Buscemi plays like a bar owner, I guess you'd say. Hold on, I'll tell you. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to tell you guys. I'm sorry, folks. I have to give him the praise. Where is it? Come here. Not only did he act in this thing, he wrote it too. He's not stupid. People who like to think that Steve Buscemi is, not as good as he is, he's deceivingly good. So much so that, again, if you can't get Joe Pesci, I would hire. I think I would go on a limb and say Steve Buscemi is right up there with Joe Pesci in the scheme of things. If you need a kind of a loudmouth, wise guy kind of individual, a good secondary character. Oh, he was also in Fargo, too. Let's add that to the mix. I mean, come on. How can you not have that? Get over here. Oh, I just lost it. Sorry, folks. I'm going to tell you the name of this movie. I do suggest you check it out. It's a clinic in... Actually, you know what? I'll just do this. He directed it, too. Again, underrated individual. Let's see. It was an older movie. Come on. We'll find it. Of course. Give me a second, folks. I could rattle off, a bunch of things. Steve Buscemi is the guy you see in almost everything. You know, oh, that's Steve Buscemi. Because he's in everything. You know him from everything. He's the guy in the movie that you saw in the background. He's that guy. If you do, good luck if you do a search. I just did that. I just made the mistake of Googling him. Good luck. He's been working for a long time, folks, and all over the place. That's a sign of an actor. An actor who can do multiple things is a good thing. Fit him anywhere. I am going to tell you the name of that movie when I find it. It is an older one, and I'm also going to tell you it's an independent film. So hopefully you guys don't mind independent film and you're a little bit open to certain things of that nature. Because it is a great film. This guy has been acting forever. Trees Lounge. I'm sorry about that, folks. Trees Lounge, it's called. It was from 1996. He pretty much did everything on this film. He acted, directed, produced. Fantastic film, Trees Lounge. It is not a happy movie. It's a drama. But what a movie. It's a great movie. It's a great performance. It's a great everything by Steve Buscemi. Then, good luck. Just Google Steve Buscemi. You'll see everything he did. He did everything. He's good. And then everyone else, Michael Fishman, go watch Roseanne, The Connors. Go listen to him on his lives. He's a very intelligent individual. Dana Carvey, take your pick. All right, folks, I'm going to call it for the night. May all your dreams come true. Peace, everyone. May all your dreams come true. I'm really going to go into this episode now.